You're listening to Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. On each episode, we sit down with key industry experts to discover more about what's happening in the world of learning and development, from current trends and insights to the most valuable lessons learned along the way. Join us for a fresh perspective on all things training and the best direction forward. Here's your host, Leanne Langford.
Hi, welcome to Learning Leaders Spotlight, the podcast where we interview the learning leaders of today to help the learning leaders of tomorrow. I'm your host, Leanne Langford. I'm the president of Training Pros. Training Pros is a learning and development consulting and staffing company where we like to say, when you have more projects than people, let us find you the right consultant to start your project with confidence. I'm so excited to welcome my guests today. Please join me in welcoming Allyson Roote, the Vice President of Learning and Organizational Development at the Bonadio Group. Welcome, Allyson.
Thanks so much, Leanne. I'm so happy to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. Let's start off with you sharing with our audience an overview of who you are and what you do.
So I am the Vice President of Learning and OD at the Bonadio Group. We're a top 50 accounting firm. We have offices all over the country. We're in a huge growth period, and I started the learning and development function for the firm just over 10 years ago. I was the first person dedicated to the role of learning and development at the firm, and I have seen that grow exponentially over the past decade. So I was a team of one, and now we're a team of 9. I'm really proud of the work and the evolution that the team has really done over the years and how my role has evolved and changed, and obviously everybody else's. So I think we're just in a really great place in terms of learning and development in professional services.
Gosh, it's an exciting story of building it from the ground up. I think that's a lot of people's dream sometimes. Must have
Yeah,
been.
it was definitely an amazing journey when I think back about how we first started and the team that kind of came together over the years and the people that have sat in specific seats and how we have just this really well-oiled machine today. It's something I'm extremely proud of, and the evolution of from when I walked in the door to where we are today. We're not just delivering training and checking boxes in terms of technical skills that are needed, but we have an entire leadership development framework, a learning ecosystem, and we kind of have all of these moving parts coming together to support learning across the firm.
I always like to find out how people ended up working in learning and development. So, what was it that got you into this field?
Yeah, so when I started in this field, I actually worked with an executive coach. She was a family friend, and we did a course or a series of assessments. And I thought, I really love what she's doing. I actually want to be doing that job. I love research. So I just dove into understanding like how I could get to that point. And I did my undergrad in psychology. So I felt like there were some strong parallels to the coaching world, having that psychology background. And what I uncovered was learning and development. And so I got an internship at the United Way at the time, and that kind of opened doors for me. I started in healthcare as a learning and development specialist. And then my career really took off. I went back to school. I got my master's in human resource development with a focus on L&D. And things just kind of took off from there in terms of my career path and that trajectory. And I just actually had this full circle moment 2 weeks ago now where I completed my own coaching certification through the International Coaching Federation. So I'm now an ACC certified coach, and I owe it kind of back to this individual who worked with me from the very beginning. So it's just been a wild, been fun ride.
There were a lot of things in your story that I really love.
Yeah.
First off, that you did an internship as soon as you decided you wanted to be an L&D. That's something I advise people to do all the time when they're having a hard time breaking in. And
hmm
most people are loath to do that, especially an unpaid intern.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand that.
But the fact that it gave you a leg up just proves
Yes.
the point that if you really want to get in, this is the way to do it.
It really is. We want to have some type of credible experience, and doing that work and really sinking your teeth into it, I think really opened the doors for me, as well as being persistent. I remember my first boss saying that, she's like, "You are persistent." I didn't stop calling. I'm like, I really want this job. So I think those things all pay off in the long run.
They really do, honestly. And I know I've been the hiring person before with the persistent person, and you admire the persistence for sure.
I'm sure it can get annoying too. I wanted to strike that balance between annoyance and persistence.
Difficult balance to strike. Sure. And I love that you went back to school afterward. You probably did it at night or,
I did.
I did the same
Yeah.
thing. I went back to school at night and I got the same degree, HRD, master's.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
It's so few of us, aren't there?
And I have such great connections and people that I've met through that experience that I still keep in touch with. If anyone is looking for the option to go back to school, I'm a full on supporter of that. I think we should, in learning and development, should never stop learning ourselves. And having that background and experience just really solidifies your credibility in the field.
Absolutely. And then, of course, I do love that you're now full circle and now you're the coach. So now it's your turn to coach some people.
Yes. For sure.
Amazing. That was a good story. So you've been in L&D for a while. What are the most impactful changes you've seen in L&D lately?
I think there's no surprise to anyone, obviously, AI and the evolution that we're facing there. And I think that's obviously going to change a lot about how learning is created. It already has, how it's personalized and delivered. So that's a huge disruptor to the world that we're in. But I actually think that it makes the human side of the work that we do so much more important. Like I see the judgment, the critical thinking skills, communication, the coaching, curiosity, and just the ability to navigate all those things with a level of ambiguity just so important in the age of AI. I think that's one of the keys. And also just that level of adaptability, being able to kind of roll with things and the pace of change and everything that's coming in our direction and being able to keep up with that. It can be a lot.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I was just doing research for a white paper. We do a lot of white papers here. And I was looking at the old school way we did things and then what we're able to do now with AI, but still, you not only still have the critical judgment and the strategic thinking along with what you're able to do, but it's actually even more important to have that because you can get fooled by the AI data and all that. So it was a very interesting
Yes.
research and thinking through because when I went to school, it was the real old school, pre-LMS old school. And now what we can do now and the way we can analyze things now is so much more.
That's so true. And I think L&D used to be very reactive. And I think we are going to need to be more proactive in how we're responding. And I think a lot of times we were like, okay, we just need to deliver training, but now we need to be really ahead of like, where is the business going? What are the gaps that are going to potentially exist? And then how do we respond to those gaps? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
I couldn't agree more. So this leads right into my next question of
Yeah.
where do you see us going in the next few years? What's L&D going to look like soon that it's not doing yet?
One thing that comes to mind is there being more of or taking more of a consultative approach to learning. I don't think, even though I've been in learning and development for over 20 years, I'm not a proponent of just putting a band aid everything and solving it with learning. I think there's a lot of digging in that needs to happen and understanding the true root cause. Knowledge and skill gaps certainly exist. So training may support those gaps, but there's likely other things that are happening under the surface. So I think really digging deeper and understanding where L&D can create that value. And it's not in creating more learning, it's in really creating more capability and allowing us to really partner with key stakeholders to identify what those capabilities are and then determining how we develop them ultimately. So I think that's truly where L&D is going to continue to provide the greatest value.
I couldn't agree more. I do believe that big changes are currently happening. So next year's L&D department is going to look a lot different than this year's, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we need to really start intentionally building those capabilities before they become an urgent need. And that's something that I try to instill in my team too. Like, how can we partner with the firm or the business to really understand the capabilities that need to be built before people get there?
Fantastic. I love that. Now, hey, you may have already answered my next question. Who has been your most influential professional mentor?
Yeah, well, definitely the coach that I spoke about earlier, but there's someone that I met in my master's program that I worked with at Citibank at the time. Actually, I got the position at Citibank as a result of her. So, and then she's always been someone that I felt like I had in my back pocket, could call for anything, and was just a really great support to me. I could bounce ideas off of her, go to her for guidance and advice in terms of where my career was going. But I don't think that the greatest mentors just give advice. I think they allow you to see something in yourself before you can see it on your own. So I think they create kind of this opportunity for you to step into your own value. And that's really what she did for me.
I love that story. I'm a big proponent on mentorship. I think everyone should have a mentor in order to get really a good start in their
Yes.
field. And then I feel like we need to pay it back by being mentors for others.
Yeah, that's a great point because I do feel like when I go back to her story all the time, I think about how do I want to show up based on how she showed up for me and how do I want to lead and what are the things that are important to me in what I'm delivering to my team every day. She always taught me to be, the best version of myself and what type of experience do we want to leave people with after they've experienced us?
Now, this one I find to be such a fascinating question because over time the answer keeps changing. What is the most important skill in the workplace right now?
So I think this goes back to what I talked about previously about adaptability. With the pace of change, I think it's even more important. And in the face of AI, for us as leaders to embrace this skill of being adaptable and being open to change and asking good questions and learning, relearning, all of that, and being constant takers in of new information, if you will. And then that also requires adjusting our thinking to what the environment is. So I think there's a lot to be said about adaptability. And I've learned this over the course of my career because I think I used to be anti adaptable, honestly. Like, I would be very focused on just getting things done. And if something threw me off course, it was like, oh my God, what's happening? Now it's like, these are things are going to happen all the time. There's always going to be change. And it's in how we deal with those situations and kind of like how I said, how we show up because we're role models to our team. And I think it's so critically important that we allow ourselves to have kind of that level of adaptability so that then they can see that we're providing them a place to be adaptable to. I think also a level of authenticity and vulnerability. I think everyone's trying to just get out and be especially in this LinkedIn environment, like this perfect curated version of who you are. And I think there's this level of vulnerability and authenticity that is so important and needed when there's this, social media encourages this level of perfectionism. And as leaders, that's just not possible. It's a standard that no one will ever attain. So authenticity and vulnerability, in the words of Brené Brown, really creates, I think, a really top-notch leader if you're able to be that person for others.
Great skills. Adaptability, of course, is absolute necessity right now because I've never seen change happen this fast. And I think it's going to keep changing faster.
Yes,
So I feel like we
I,
should be teaching adaptability as a class.
I completely agree. And I think there's also, along with that, just being curious. And this is something I talk about a lot too with my team and also my kids who are teenagers, leaning into a level of curiosity as to why things are happening a certain way or why someone's showing up a certain way versus judgment. And I think that's also critical to how we are as leaders, leaning into that level of curiosity instead of making assumptions. So seeking feedback, experimenting with new things, maybe adapting and changing our thinking because we've leaned into that level of curiosity. So I think that's kind of like underneath all of the things that we've talked about.
Oh, wonderful. I love it. I got two skills for the price of one. I love it. So you mentioned one source, but what is your favorite source for industry news and information? Where do you go to keep up with what's going on in L&D?
So there's two sides of this for me, I feel like. So obviously resources like ATD and training industry and LinkedIn, those are critical to learning and development. So those are kind of my go-tos. Also McKinsey, just kind of these real foundational providers of great learning resource information, but also having the professional services and accounting side of learning is really important to me continuing to build credibility as a leader within professional services. So the AICPA, Accounting Today, the Journal of Accountancy, just really being up on all of those resources and what's trending is really important.
So I love that you talk about keeping up with your client information
Yes.
and what they're doing, because to me, it's critical to be able to speak the language of the business. not just the L&D language.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, that's one of the things that we are doing in learning and development for our client service teams is developing industry curriculum. And more so for the effect that they need to understand the businesses of the clients that they are working with to really feel as though they are an expert. I would hate to go into a construction and real estate client and like, I don't even know the language that they use. So here we're providing them with a basic foundational curriculum to really help them feel successful when they are having those client conversations. So to me, I need to understand their business. And it's just like the same thing that we're doing for them in terms of providing that knowledge and education. Except for me, I need to be a seeker of that education. No one's telling me, you need to take this course and this course. It's really understanding their world in a way that helps us, again, to build that credibility and trust.
So I love that. It's like a 3 layers there. If you learn the language of accounting and professional services, and then you're helping build curriculum so that your accounting and professionals learn the
Yes.
language of the next level of business.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how important it is.
Yes, for sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so here's the final question. What is one book everyone wanting to move into learning and development leadership should read?
I'm going to give you two, actually. This was so hard to pick, Leanne, because I'm a researcher. I love reading, but I like to have an actual book. I also listen to podcasts, listen to Audible, but I have a stack and there's always something that I am going through. And sometimes I get confused as what book I'm reading because I'll jump around to different books. So two by the same author. Dr. Keith Keating with the Trusted Learning Advisor and Hidden Value. I think those were transformational for me in my career. The Trusted Learning Advisor is a book that everyone on my team gets a copy of when they join so that we're talking the same language. And now we just refer to it as TLA. We probably say that daily, like we just created an acronym for it. And I love what Dr. Keith does in his books because he doesn't present the content theoretically. He gives very practical, applicable content that you can immediately take from the book and implement. So those are must-dos. And I actually shared this book with so many people over the years, the Trusted Learning Advisor, because it's been out longer. And I was on a call the other day with someone that I had met on LinkedIn, and she holds up the book. She's like, I bought the book. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I love it. So Dr. Keith is just so inspiring.
He really is. He's a friend of mine, and he gave me a copy of Hidden Value early.
Yes.
And then I had a conversation with him, and he said, well, what did you think of the book? And I was like, where was this book?
I
When I was
know.
a learning leader. This
Yes.
is like a blueprint on how to do this.
I know. And I was like, there's still things that I'm like, oh, I've never thought about doing that. And I just talked to him a few weeks ago over email about something. And he's like, did you think about this? I'm like, oh my God, no, I didn't. But thank you. I'm going to go do that now.
I love it. I love it. I love his books, and I've seen him speak 4 or 5 times now. It's really lovely to watch him talk, and he comes up with other things that make you go, wait, put it down. Let me try it.
I know. I love it.
So are those the 2 books, or was there a third book?
Yes. Those are the 2 books.
Well, that's fine. It's one author, no problem there. And I definitely agree with your choice of books. If you want to be an L&D leader, it literally is the blueprint on how to do it.
Yes. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, you have been an amazing guest, Allyson.
Well, thank you, Leanne.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time. I know you have a busy schedule. As our thank you to you, I'd like to plant 5 trees in your name.
Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you. It's our charity here at Training Pros. We plant trees in the world, and we've planted well over 5,000 trees to date, and we'll do 5 more in your name as our thank you for your time.
That's amazing. Thank you, Leanne. I've so enjoyed being here. I really appreciate it.
And that's it for this week's episode of the Learning Leader Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you join us next week for another learning leader from another industry.
Thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. You'll find links in the show notes to any resources mentioned on today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review.